Following the Atlanta Falcons' dismal loss to the Pittsburgh Steelers, there was a lot of overreactions, people going crazy. And listen, I was one of them. I was sitting there just like making fun of the Falcons, making fun of Raheem Morris, making fun of Zach Robinson, making fun of Kirk Cousins, because frankly, we deserve that right. Listen, we're Falcons fans. We've been through it all.
Well, I can do whatever I want because I'm a fan.
Yeah, I mean, that's true. But at the same time, like, if anybody deserves to be able to overreact to one loss, it's the Atlanta Falcons fans. And then usually, Monday comes around, Tuesday comes around, you settle down, you say, okay, it was week one. The Steelers have a really good defense. You make excuses. You say, hey, the NFL is a week-to-week league. You get better as the year goes on. There was a lot of moving pieces. I get it, right? But what if all the overreactions weren't really overreactions? They were all warranted. And I'm speaking mostly about Kirk Cousins, the guy that you invested $180 million in, that is clearly not healthy. We could all see it. And even if he does get healthy, is he ever going to feel comfortable? I mean, it's possible. There's a very real world where he doesn't feel comfortable until way later in the season or maybe even next year, right? Like, these were all risks that you took when you signed a guy and you gave $180 million to a guy coming off an Achilles injury that had never been through it before. There was no guarantee that he was going to come out there and be the guy that he was last year. And I think that's the biggest thing when we're talking about, what are we most worried about? Well, what if Kirk Cousins is a tomato can? And this is not absurd. And I'm not saying he was never good, but he's coming off a huge injury that he has never, ever been through anything like this in his career before. And he might just suck for this entire year. And we could be having serious questions as soon as after this Eagles game about whether he should be the quarterback of this team. And all these things these hypotheticals we were talking about preseason about Penix and Cousins, they could come to fruition very, very quickly, and they can be warranted. They can't just be overreactionary fans. There will be people like Mina Kimes was talking about how it's just like they got real issues because Kirk Cousins is not the same Kirk Cousins. Like, he can't move. And that is a serious thing that we may have to look at in the mirror and adjust to. And if they're not willing to put Penix out there, it's going to be a long season.
Yeah. I mean, tinfoil hat. Why would you, we know that they gave Kirk Cousins $100 million guaranteed over 4 years because they thought that this guy was capable of playing into his 40s. He's age 36. That would be his age 40 season. And then about 6 weeks later, they draft Michael Penix Jr., who, for all intents and purposes, was the one quarterback other than Caleb Williams, because he was the number one overall pick, who was expected to start immediately because, one, he had a ton of college experience, and he was older than most of the other quarterbacks. So everyone, regardless of where he landed, expected Michael Penix to also probably play, or at least, pick up halfway through the season. Maybe they get Cousins in the flowery branch and go, oh, crap. Like, the contract is signed. We can't back out of it. This guy's Achilles is not where we thought it was going to be when we got, and obviously they do their own, he has to go through a physical and everything like that. But I'm talking about when they see Cousins run around, they see Cousins throw football, they see him try and drive off of his foot, take a seven-step drop, take play action. They go, oh God, this guy isn't what I saw in the film, yada, yada, yada. And maybe they go, maybe we need Michael Penix. I think, the hope is, if you want to be optimistic, that he isn't 100%, but it's not a physical thing. It's a mental thing. And these athletes, and Kirk Cousins isn't some superstar athlete, but you can kind of see it when one of these guys like Ronald Acuña Jr., when he tore his ACL, he came back that next year. He may have been 100% cleared by the doctors and everybody like that, but in his mind, he just didn't trust it. It was just like, it wasn't second nature like he was. And that can happen with athletes. And that can happen right now with Kirk Cousins, where maybe he is 100%, he's getting the doctors are like, it's fine. There's maybe a little irritation, but structurally you are fine. And he just doesn't trust it in his mind. That's also not good, though. Like, that's the hope is he just doesn't quite trust it. Over the course of the season, he'll learn to trust it. That's still not good, though, because it does like a second guessing Kirk Cousins give you a better chance to win football games than a fully healthy Michael Penix, who's just going to rip it no matter what. He's going to make rookie mistakes. He's going to make rookie mistakes compared to like a veteran like Kirk Cousins, but does he still give you the better chance to win if he's second guessing his body, not necessarily what he's seeing, but his body isn't responding quickly like he, is like he's been doing his entire career. I think that's more more reasonable than anything.
I think that's a very good comparison with Acuna, because obviously Acuna, not everyone can be Grady Jarrett, where you're just like, you're so mentally like on another level than every single athlete that you can just go out there and have 2 sacks in your first game coming back. I mean, not every athlete is like that. Some of them are, but some of them aren't. And I don't know if that's the thing with Kirk Cousins. The one thing I want to address about Michael Penix, right? And listen, I will be the first person to sit here and be like, hey, I want to see Michael Penix. Because frankly, if Kirk Cousins sucks, I don't care if Michael Penix sucks. I want to see the rookie, the guy who has the strong arm, the guy who's potentially the future franchise quarterback. Like, I want to see that regardless. But let's not act, because I heard, I think Mike Bell on 92.9 The Game talk about, well, Michael Penix could give us what Kirk Cousins gave us, 156 yards, 1 touchdown, two interceptions. Yeah, I mean, maybe he could. Maybe he could give you a lot worse. And we act like worse isn't out there. And listen, that could be the worst game Kirk Cousins plays all season. And maybe he is limited and he's out there just giving you 2 touchdown games and he's limiting the mistakes and being a game manager. Michael Penix could be 10 times worse than that. Like, go look around the rookies from week 1, as we talked about yesterday. Yeah. There were a lot of bad performances. Go look at Will Levis. The guy may have up 3 defensive touchdowns. Go look at there is worse out there, right? And I think that was the worst we're going to see of Kirk Cousins. So I think, he'll probably be a little bit better and better as the season goes on. But you can get a lot worse than what Kirk Cousins showed. And it was bad, but you can get worse.
Well, I think Mike Bell is missing the entire point. If Kirk Cousins is not fully healthy, then you're shortchanging the entire roster, Raheem Morris himself, the fans in general. But more than that, it doesn't matter what Michael Penix gives you, one game. The perfect example, and it seems like everyone forgets that rookie quarterbacks, it's not linear development where you stack one day, you get 10% better, 10% better. Sometimes you get 5% worse and 50% better week to week. Jordan Love last year, everybody was freaking out, calling the Packers idiots. Jordan Love sucks over the first half of the season. Second half of the season, they're talking about this guy like he's the second coming of Jesus Christ. And the only way to get there is live game reps, experience, and bettering yourself in that, bullets flying type of atmosphere. So, yeah, of course Michael Penix is going to suck in I would bet my life savings that he's going to suck in his debut or at least his second game. But that's not the point. The point is we got to get Michael Penix ready for the next decade. So the idea that Michael Penix is only going to give you what Kirk Cousins does, I'd say that's really, really, really bad on Kirk Cousins, because Michael Penix is the guy who's never played a game. Kirk Cousins is an 11-year vet. You're just going to go, oh, well, we've got this money tied up in Kirk Cousins. Well, let's think about the long-term aspect. If they're going to give you the same exact play presently, then we should invest in the present for the future.
No. And let me be clear, right? Mike Bell was saying exactly what you were saying. I'm saying that Michael Penix could be a lot worse. Like, I'm not like, he might not be a lot worse than 156 yards, 1 touchdown, and 2 interceptions. I am imagining Kirk Cousins against worse defenses. He's not going to face a defense as the season goes, will be a little bit better than that. What I'm saying is Michael Penix right now, starting without any reps,
assuming he's going to be as good as that is stupid.
It's stupid. Like, he could be way worse. And now that doesn't mean, as I said, I'm still here that if Kirk Cousins is not playing and we're not winning, I want to see Michael Penix. I don't care if he's out there throwing 4 picks a game, whatever, right? Because I want to see the future. We need to get the future ready, and the future is now, because Kirk Cousins is old man Cousins, and this guy's done in the league.
Yeah, I mean, it is concerning, and I don't know what Mina Kimes is saying, but everybody and their mother, you do not have to be Mina Kimes and be this expert on ESPN to watch football and look at somebody who is 36 years old coming off an Achilles injury who is just not right. Yeah. And listen, that doesn't mean Raheem Morris is lying. I did something about it. It's like Raheem Morris keeping information from us because we all have eyeballs, and Kirk Cousins is clearly not right. You could go, obviously everybody's talked about the fact that the Falcons nothing under center, which is where Kirk Cousins and Sean McVay, Zach Robinson is where he cut, Zach Robinson learned under Sean McVay. Both of those guys are all play action heavy, under center. We didn't see any of those elements. Even putting that aside, you watched Kirk Cousins try and throw the ball, drive off his foot, and it wasn't right. And again, I can set, maybe he's 100% healthy from a doctor's perspective, but from a player's perspective, he's clearly not healthy.
The other aspect you have to understand about Raheem Morris coming out there and saying these things about Kirk, if you're going to start Kirk Cousins, you have no other choice than to say he's 100% and it was the play caller's fault, even if you know that's not the case. Because guess what? Listen, and even teams are going to figure this out regardless, especially once.
I mean, we're going to learn very, very quickly.
But you can't just sit there and say, oh, yeah, he's not healthy. We can't really move out of the pocket. But, yeah, we're going to start him, because then you're just basically telling the other team, hey, this guy's a statue. He can't move. Rush the passer.
Well, he doesn't need to say it.
I know, but he can't say it. Right?
Vic Fangio is not watching the Falcons press conference. This is the Eagles defensive coordinator. He's not watching the Falcons press conference. He's watching the Falcons film against the Steelers, and he is deducing the fact exactly what you're saying, that Kirk Cousins can't move.
I mean, there's no doubt about that. Like, listen, they're going to realize it no matter what, especially if in week 2
we got to see it. I mean, move the pocket on the very first play.
Yeah,
the very first
quarterback draw. Like,
I mean, under center.
We're running a read option.
I'm talking one of the biggest boots you have ever seen.
Read option. Read option on the first
play.
And
then throw it away. I mean, I don't care.
Read option on the first play, Kirk Cousins. Maybe a Peyton Manning boot, naked boot.
Yeah,
the
biggest boot you've ever seen.
Yeah. We got a lot more to talk about coming up after the break.